And right now it's time for that time when we have our special guest. Tonight's special guest is Frankie Stevens. Frankie is well known as the judge on New Zealand Idol. But before New Zealand Idol, Frankie travelled the world with a beautiful voice and was Mr. Entertainer in some of the biggest night spots in the world. We welcome Frankie Stevens as our special guest on The Beat Goes On. Frankie Stevens, what an honour, what a pleasure to have you on The Beat Goes On.
Yeah, what a great name.
Now everybody knows you as the judge on New Zealand Idol. A lot of young people, but they wouldn't have known that Frankie Stevens travelled the world with a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
And you entertained in some of the biggest night spots in the world. That was another lifetime, wasn't it?
Well, it seems like 2 lifetimes ago, I think. You know, yes. Well, I suppose television, the magic of television, has introduced me to a whole new audience, which is fantastic because I was most probably singing to their mothers and in some cases their grandmothers.
Well, their mothers and grandmothers would have heard, and that's the reason that you're in the studio today. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's Frankie Stevens, the Singles Collection from 1968 to 1978.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a long time
ago.
That's a long time ago.
ever exist? And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of baby boomers in New Zealand would love to get this wonderful album. And I've been listening to it.
And I want them to have it.
Yeah. But before we continue, Frankie, let's play a wonderful song called My Elusive Dream. Just a little bit of it, just to give everybody a reminder of what a wonderful voice you have.
Thank you.
I know you're tired of following my elusive dreams and schemes, for they're only fleeting things. My elusive dream. You had my child in Memphis, then I heard of work in Nashville, didn't find it there, so we moved on.
Oh, that's great stuff. My Elusive Dream. Wonderful hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It actually went to #1 in Christchurch first of all, and then it transferred nationally. And I think it did hit #1. I received a gold record for it, which in those days was a lot of records.
Yeah.
Today it's kind of shrunk just a little bit because there's so many other ways to access music.
Now, before we carry on, Frankie, I did forget, I promised Kennedy, our last guest, that I would give you a gift, just in case you have any winter ills and chills, sniffles, etc., etc. It's Clover. Kennedy wanted me to give you that.
Well, that's very good of you. Thank you very much, Kennedy. I hope I don't need it, to be quite honest. I really don't.
I'm not sure about its effect on swine flu.
Oof. We won't even go there.
No. But I tell you where we will go. Let's go right back to the beginning. Now, a wonderful musical family. A wonderful musical family. Your mother was, what was the...
Well, she was part of the Ngāti Puniki cultural group in Wellington. Her and 4 of her sisters, as a matter of fact.
They were good singers, I bet.
Well, they were. They all had very good voices and used to, love harmonising and sitting around over a glass of sherry, and just singing.
And your father?
Well, my father was in a big band in Scotland, in the late 20s, early 30s,
so
prior to the war. Scottish Māori, half and half.
Great. What can you remember, sitting at home, hearing your mum and dad sing? What sort of a household was it?
Well, 11 children, all up, 6 sisters and 4 other brothers. And, we were brought up in a fairly relaxed atmosphere of music and strong family connections. And our father always used to sort of want to show off his kids, when his mates came around or we had a party around the house or something. So he used to get me standing up, being the oldest boy, just, singing a song. And it kind of started there, And I mean, as a kid, I never quite liked getting up. I was pretty shy. And that shyness actually never went away until I was about 17 or 18 in Sydney and learnt a bit about making contact with an audience. But in the early days, it was quite painful.
Shy.
Oh, very.
When did you first think, my gosh, I've got a good voice, and people were taking notice of your singing?
Well, I didn't really realise it until I started with a band at college. And the band was a group called The Insect. and they were looking for
A name like the Beatles.
in-sect, like kind of the in people, you know, the groovy people and so on. And I auditioned at college for the band and was asked to join the band as the lead singer. And it's funny because in the band at the time was a guy called Wayne Mason, who is one of New Zealand's
greatest songwriters.
Nature. He wrote that in Upper Hutt, which is where we're all from, you know. And I stayed with that band for quite a while and learned a lot of how to utilize a voice, you know, and feel confident in it. And I started taking voice lessons then with a voice teacher. And then I kind of started to build up vocal confidence, not performance, but vocal confidence. And I started to have faith in the instrument, really, I suppose. The guys, the Pete Nelson and the Castaways, saw me at one of the youth club shows in Upper Hutt that they were playing at. And when Peter decided to leave the Castaways in Sydney, I got the phone call, 16-year-old, and I was asked if I wanted to join them. So, you know, I decided to because, you know, there wasn't a lot happening for me in New Zealand. The school wasn't exactly my forte. And I was kind of getting into a little bit of trouble here and there, you know, starting to get into that rebellious stage where you either can go left or right, and somebody sort of pulls you back into line. And it was that offer that I decided to take up, and I ended up in Sydney.
What would you have learnt in Sydney that that gave you a progressive force?
Well, I learnt that this was what I wanted to do for a living. That I was good at it, and I had the confidence. And I learnt that how you looked and image and everything else started to come into it. I grew my hair and stopped using Brill cream.
Now, did you steal my hairstyle?
Well, you know, well, that's a matter of opinion, because apparently I'm one of the first ones in New Zealand to actually do this, and I did this in '93.
Wow, that's early, isn't it?
1993, and Harry Miller for Jesus Christ Superstar asked me to get the look for the show. But anyway, getting back to the story in Sydney, I mean, it was just, the 60s was one of the most exciting periods that I've ever gone through anywhere in the world. And Sydney was most probably the rockingest town I've come across then, and most probably since, because all of those factors sort of came together. And we were the youth of the time, and we made the most of it.